Hey, how's it going, everybody? Uh, here to chat wrestling. Obviously, this was a big weekend, and I'm sure a lot of you are wondering where Corey is. It's as far as the wrestling stuff goes, you're probably just going to be seeing me from now on, taking over these things. So I appreciate you guys all coming in here to chat with me on a Sunday night, and obviously we got a lot to talk about as far as Iowa wrestling goes. So, I mean, we can hop right into it, just talking about initial thoughts of Ohio State, but I want to go all the way back through talking about Missouri, Illinois, Oklahoma State, all of it, individual performances, etc. Yeah, I think we should just get into it, start talking about Ohio State. Just kind of look at some of these comments and some of the things that you guys are saying. Obviously, for starters, yes, did get smoked. A lot of things didn't go our way to start the duel early. We'll break it down each match. Need a good backup heavyweight. Keeter's obviously not fully healthy. That's the first thing you're going to take away from this whole tournament. But let's start with the lightweights. We'll get there. Losing 125 and 133, certainly not on the bingo card. Just tough one to swallow there. You come out 125. You think Dean Peterson's hot. He just beat Troy Spratley, returning national finalist. And you think he's got this one in the bag. We're favored here, but Nick Bouzakis, he's tough. He's a good wrestler, but man, just getting a pin in the first period there, certainly not expected. So, and then obviously Drake Ihalla, two-time national finalist for us now. So losing to a freshman, I know Ben Davino's great. If you watched him at World Trials, US Open, he's a fantastic wrestler. But man, that's a tough one to swallow as well, especially how bad Drake Ihalla got beat. I think Ben Davino's he's the future of that program. He really is just a tough lightweight wrestler, and he's going to be around. I could see him being a 4-time All-American, champion down the line for sure, but that's a tough loss. And then the same thing with Nasir Bailey's match at 141. We started out just getting punched in the mouth, and that's how it went, you want to talk about maybe potentially having some holes, like we're saying here. I wouldn't consider 125 to be a hole. Dean Peterson's great, but obviously the inconsistencies are the biggest thing that we're going to think about at this point. 141, Nasir does not look good right now, especially for someone that took 4th place 2 years ago. This certainly is not what we expected. Him going up a weight class, it's definitely affected him. You can see that. Obviously, he looks like he's just getting outmanned out there. Jesse Mendez was just throwing him around. Pushing him out of bounds, getting the stall calls, you name it. It was over and over. And then 157, I don't know what's going on with Jordan Williams, why he didn't wrestle the last 2 duels. I don't know how bad he got beat in the Illinois duel, if that had something to do with it. But yeah, it's just tough to swallow. And again, just not us. Definitely not the Iowa style in that final duel. And I thought we could have been a lot better, even without Keeter. Not having Keeter, obviously his labrum's still bugging him. I thought we could have been closer than that. But yeah, tough pill to swallow, but obviously we got to move on. It's early in the season. We're going to get to avenge some of these losses down the line. So yeah, no Williams, no Keeter, 27-12 loss. Keep sharing your thoughts. Yeah, 25 caught in a cradle. It happens, but yeah, definitely 33 was embarrassing. You had a national finalist getting taken down 3 times and not getting a takedown. And I don't think we got our first takedown until, I want to say 65 with Caliendo, I think might have been our first takedown. It sucks. It really does. Conditioning looks like a factor. Those Ohio State guys were out there just going after it the entire time. It's rough. You expect us to be a lot better, especially an Iowa team that's been known for conditioning in the past. And it's this beginning of the year thing, especially having tough matches at the beginning of the year. We just have not looked as good as we usually do by the time Big Tens comes around, etc. It's just, I know. We can't be okay with being average. Our goal is supposed to be to catch Penn State. At this point, we've gone from being a clear number 2 and trying to chase Penn State to kind of floating along with the schools like Ohio State, Oklahoma State, and just being somewhere between that 3 to 5 range, which is just not what you want to see, obviously. This is, I think this sums it up really well. Just a lack of offense overall. You saw who the aggressor was in that last duel. It was not us. They were on the offense the entire time, and we weren't. Simply put, we weren't. But I want to walk it through each match, starting with 125. Obviously, we just talked about it a little bit. Stuck in the cradle. Pinned. Then you go into 133. We lost that. We talked about that as well. Jesse Mendez throwing Nasir Bailey around at 141. We talked about as well. But a match I really want to dive into, and someone I really want to highlight and talk about a lot as well that really impressed me, and I'm sure you guys are impressed as well. At 149, Ryder Block. How about Ryder Block? I mean, I think he's holding down that spot for sure. He looks absolutely fantastic. I mean, he beat number 6 early on, and he beat number 3 in Casey Swiderski against Oklahoma State. And I mean, he took on number 9 Ethan Stiles in that final match there, and Ethan Stiles transferred from Oregon State, took 6th place last year. I mean, Block, I thought he was right there with him. Scramble in that first period just about took him down. Third period, it's just bad, roll through, just didn't end up going our way. And what bugged me about Block's match, and I thought a lot of the matches that we saw, the stalling was not getting called the same way in the finals. It's not why we lost. We were out wrestled, bottom line. But stalling was not getting called the same way. I mean, Nasir got hit 4 times for backing out, even though sometimes he was taking shots, and then in those shots, Mendez would get double unders and push him out. While Block was clearly the aggressor the entire match. The entire time he was the aggressor. He was controlling the center. He was moving. He was taking all the shots. And then that final 30 seconds when Block needed to escape, he got to his feet, and Stiles was just sitting behind him on the feet, not making any attempt to return. And there was no, action from the ref. There was no stall warning, nothing. And I felt like we were getting hit for stalling a lot quicker than we should have been in some of the matches. But again, not the reason we lost. Reason we lost is because we got out wrestled. But then going into 157, obviously, like we talked about, not sure why Jordan Williams isn't wrestling. He got whooped in the Illinois match, and I don't know if Brands was upset with that performance and wanted to get Victor Voinovich some matches in, and instead of Jordan Williams, wanted to get someone that was going to go out there, maybe show a little bit better effort. Or if Jordan Williams, maybe he was sick, maybe he's hurt, maybe he's not feeling well, but either way, tough not to have him in that last duel. I mean, Victor Voinovich is not going to be able to compete with a guy that's ranked number 8 like Brandon Cannon. And then at 165, Caliendo wrestled a good clean match against Patty Gallagher. That's a good opponent. Beat him in overtime. Same thing with Kennedy. Beat Carson Canarkla in overtime. And then Angelo Ferrari also won in overtime. So 3 overtime wins in a row from 3 of our best wrestlers, who were all ranked top 3. I thought Ferrari had a great tournament. He looked like his positioning was solid the entire time. He was in great shape. He wrestled really well. And then same thing with Masoma and Dean. Let's talk about Masoma and Dean. That is the RTI Threads wrestler of the tournament, Masoma and Dean. There are so many guys that are great at the D3 level, and they come up to D1 and they get humbled. Masoma and Dean is not one of those guys. He looks absolutely fantastic, beating just studs throughout the entire thing. Right out the gates, pin number 15 in 40 seconds against Missouri in Evan Bates. Gets a major against Cade Lout of Illinois. Then he wrestles number 10, Cody Merrill of Oklahoma State, beats him in what I thought was a fantastic match. And then he beats Seth Shoemate, who was a match away from placing last year at Nationals. So great tournament. I thought, and Dean looked fantastic. I thought Ferrari looked fantastic. And then obviously talking about heavyweight, a lot of questions surrounding Keeter, a lot of stuff that we didn't hear about during the week that I didn't even think there was potential that he wasn't fully good to go heading into national duels. And I even thought, in those first couple duels, we had it clinched. We won pretty easily. I thought maybe we were just resting Keeter, save him for the big duels. But then in the Oklahoma State duel, he didn't even have his shoes on. So I'm like, all right, Keeter's obviously hurt. Something's going on still with that labrum. A lot to figure out there, because in a duel against someone like Ohio State, you're not going to win without having that great heavyweight in Keeter. And Keeter beat Nick Feldman last year, so would have been really nice to have him in that match. Obviously, big swing on the duel. But again, don't think we would have won. We got out wrestled. That's the bottom line here, talking about that duel against Ohio State. So but I fully agree. It is early. We are going to get better. We're going to be better, and we're going to get chances to avenge this. And I think we're still a very good team, top to bottom. It's just the same things that we talked about after the Bellarmine duel, inconsistency issues. It's just inconsistency issues. The talent's all there. The wrestlers that we have, I think the work ethic is all there. And I think we have guys with good heads on their shoulders. It's just inconsistencies. And it's being the same wrestler every single time you walk on the mat, preparing the same way before you walk on the mat, and then going out and doing it. We saw that from Endine. Endine wasn't consistent the entire tournament. Ferrari was consistent the entire tournament. Those guys held it down the entire time. And they wrestled through and through the entire tournament. We need that from every single guy. It can't be this match, you look great, next match you don't. And that's kind of what we see from Dean Peterson right now. You beat the guy who was a returning national finalist last year, and then you lose to a guy who didn't even place, getting pinned in the first period. So, yeah, I mean, I hope we can avenge this loss when we get healthy, obviously. And I'm excited to see the Oklahoma State duel when we're fully healthy too, when we wrestle them down the line, because, you know, we didn't have Keeter in that duel. So I think we can beat them a lot worse than we did. And yeah, pretty excited to see what can happen down the line. But looks like we got Alex here coming to call. Alex, sorry, I didn't see you there for a second. How you doing?
All right. Good, sir. It's I'm actually excited that more you guys are doing. You and Corey are gonna be doing some wrestling. I've actually kind of poked Corey, I think, when he did an Iowa Penn State duel way back when, and he just didn't know enough about wrestling, which is fair. So I'm just glad that we have the opportunity to talk about it.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it's actually like it's such a lucky scenario that we ended up here, because I was actually talking to Corey about working for the newspaper blog thing that he runs through Story County. And he was like, you know, I was on Zoom with him chatting about doing that over the summer. And he's like, I actually run this YouTube. Do you happen to know anything about wrestling, or what sports are you interested in? And I was like, I was a huge wrestler in high school, man. I know all about wrestling. I can chat Iowa wrestling all day long. And he's like, dude, we need a guy to do just that. So really lucky thing. And I've been loving seeing his wrestling journey too, because it's a tough sport to get into for sure. But he seems like he's starting to understand it slowly but surely, you know. So what were your thoughts, Bill?
So I watched the entire match. Did you watch with the commentators, or did you watch with listening to Ironside?
I watched with the commentators.
Okay. I almost switched over after, I think, Bailey Nasair, but I kept on the commentary. I wrote down everything you wanted to go through. Dean, so he got in that cradle, which, you know, when I was a wrestler too, I wrestled from first grade to senior year of high school. Never did it in college. Just never, didn't think I was good enough to do it. But from the get-go, when he got the cradle locked, he was doing a good job of defending it, keeping his leg out and arm out to prevent the leverage. And then I think he tried to see, like, oh, if I wrap his leg with my arm, and he gave up that position, and that's how he got caught. And again, those things happen, but the bigger one was Ayala. And I commented on a guy that I follow. He does a lot of football, but he does watch wrestling. Is that he looks like two different wrestlers sometimes. There's
100%.
times where he looks like a national champion, and then there's other times where, man, the guy looks like a good high school wrestler could beat him. He's so hot and cold. And I know Ferrari does this, but I don't like the knee wrestling.
Right.
Because it's a very defensive style of wrestling, and it's fine if you're up like 10-5, and it's like, okay, hey, you know, it's like 30 seconds left in the third. I'm not going to give up really anything, but it goes back to this lack of offense. We didn't score a takedown until Caliendo in that sudden victory, and it's just like I was trying to look throughout the match, or throughout the duel, of what was the takedown ratio, like how many shots did Ohio State take versus Iowa? I couldn't find it. Flo may have it after in a couple days, but I was so disappointed. And that's something that I've harped on with Iowa wrestling. There's such a defensive style. Brands is such a defensive style of wrestler. I mean, you look back when Spencer Lee was here in Real Woods, it was like a breath of fresh air because they were so offensive minded. And that's the other thing that ties into this, is that when we get into these tight duels, and this is where Penn State's really kind of think, obviously outside of the talent that they acquire, this is where Penn State has really just killed Iowa, is bonus points. Iowa just does not score bonus points. And going into the latter half of this match, or this duel, it was like, okay, Iowa needs some bonus points. You know, we get a couple sudden victories. Okay, cool. But man, we need those bonus points.
Well, and when you have, like, you know, 3 wrestlers back to back who are all ranked number 2, number 3, you're counting on those guys to get bonus almost every single time. That's how you win duels, you know?
And
And I was even in the Bellarmine duel. I was like surprised by the lack of bonus points that we did not get against inferior wrestlers. Just and it's offense. It's like you said. I mean, Penn State, I've watched so many documentaries of the way that they practice and the way that they preach things. I mean, throughout practice, they're scrambling the entire time. It's all offensive focused. It's never focused on defense. It's never focused on sprawling, on what to do if the guy gets on your legs. It's all just attack, attack, attack. And Iowa is clearly not that way. And tonight, Ohio State was that way. And that's the exact reason that this duel went the way it did. Even in Dean Peterson's match, I mean, yes, he got caught, but he also got caught because this guy was being more offensive than him. He was getting after him more than Dean Peterson was going after it. So, and then Iola, like you said, I wanted to touch on that too. He does look like two completely different wrestlers, like one match compared to the next. And the lack of offense is just so concerning. And it's the knee. It's the knee. I mean, he's got that pass. He's got the elbow pass, and that elbow pass works for him, but it worked great against bad kids. But when you run into a guy that's game planning for it, like when he wrestled Lucas Bird was waiting for that elbow pass to come the entire time and just hipped into him, took him down easily. And so he's got that pass, he's got a sweep, but he needs more offense and he needs to get on his feet and really charge these guys. And it's a clear indicator of someone that's struggling. I mean, Drake looked like he didn't even want to be out there. There was multiple times where he's just giving up the leg, bailing. It just, not a good performance.
It's and Naysayer, I think someone mentioned conditioning. I mean, him and even Mo, they just look. I mean, even after what did I write? He looked gassed after the first period. Like he was just huffing and puffing, and kind of Mo looked gassed too. I don't know. He just, even after that scramble he had, that like first or second scramble he had, he was just huffing and puffing too. And that's something too that I've noticed throughout the years is sometimes even in the later half of the year, the conditioning is not good. And Spencer Lee had that issue. I think in his last season, and I know he had some injuries to go along with it. But his condition, I mean, it seems like conditioning is a second in this program, where when I was a wrestler, it was like the number one thing. It's like, hey, you may not, pin the guy in 1 minute. You may have to go 7 minutes. Your 6 minutes are up. Now you go into overtime. You got to be going. So it's concerning from, as a wrestler who, as I was a wrestler, is that, these guys, even after the first or second period, these guys are, and just trotting back to the center. And it's so frustrating as a wrestler. It's like, you don't show your opponents a weakness, because if they see you really like huffing and puffing, slow to get back, it's like, if I attack this guy, he might just not be able to defend because he's so out of gas.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like you brought up, when we had Spencer Lee, DeSanto, and Real Woods all back to back, it was like the biggest breath of fresh air. Just offense. And I know Spencer Lee, his senior year was a bit different, but it was just offense. For 3 matches straight, you would see 3 tech falls. You would not see 3 guys that are squeaking out a win or looking tired while they're doing it. And now we still have 3 great wrestlers in a row with Dean Peterson, Drake Iola, and Nasir Bailey, but we got 3 guys that aren't wrestling the way that they should be wrestling offensively, aren't in the best shape that they can be, and that's clearly showing, especially when they wrestle opponents from Ohio State that clearly are in better shape. I mean, and Nasir Bailey, like talking about him, he's someone that I was a big fan of coming out of high school, and when he went to Little Rock, I really thought he was going to be a great wrestler. And so his first 2 years at Little Rock, I was really impressed by him. I mean, he took 4th as a true freshman. Last year, he kind of had a bad national tournament, but I was still like, he's a great wrestler. It's awesome to see that he's coming to Iowa. He's bringing Jordan Williams with him, but him and Jordan Williams just, and maybe it's some that Little Rock training that they were doing the last 2 years did not get them in as good of shape as they needed to be. But both of those guys it is mind blowing to me how flat footed they can look at times, especially Nasir Bailey against Jesse Mendez there. He looked so gassed from the very first whistle. It almost looked like he was just done.
When I bring up bonus points, when you're going against the number 1 ranked guy, it's more, I feel it's like, okay, hey, this guy's, he's a national champion. You may lose. Don't give up extra points, and you get teched. And it's just like, God, you're ranked, he's a top 10 ranked wrestler. You should not be getting teched by anybody. If you get pinned, kind of what happened to Dean, you get it. It's like, okay, it just kind of a scramble. If you remember St. John, who was the wrestler for Drake St. John, I wrestled his brother in high school, and he was a state runner-up. I caught him in a cradle and pinned him one time. Okay. It's those weird things. You roll, you happen to catch something, you lock it up, and you're good. But the fact is, I mean, Tekking is just the guy just out wrestling you, and you have no answers, and that's more concerning than if he would have gotten pinned.
Yeah,
To me, anyways. And you brought up the refs.
yeah.
Now when Block was wrestling, they called a stoppage real early. Block
Mhm.
had a shot in, toe still in bounds, and he
Yes,
was
yes.
working up, and they blew it dead. And it's just like, and I,
Yeah.
I was watching, and my wife thought I was watching Iowa football again because I was screaming. It's like you can't stop the match like that.
Mhm.
But and you said it, I think he, Tough Ride brought that kid down multiple times, from the bottom, when he was in the top position. He looks, as long as he can develop. Vonovich, I don't think anything. He defended the tech well. He didn't get teched, which he could have easily done. Calio and Kenny Ferrari, another BS call. That was a clear takedown.
Yeah, clear takedown in that third period. Clear takedown. I mean, he was around both the ankles clearly. That was even the commentators they were watching. They were like, "I'm surprised by that change of the call. That made no sense."
It'd be one thing if they said no takedown when it happened, but they called a takedown during the match, and then they reviewed it, and there was apparently enough there for them to overturn it, which was.
And I want to go back to Ryder Block's match. I was probably the most upset about his match, and not even because of the way he wrestled, just because of the way the match went. It did not feel like we were the worst wrestler in that match by any means.
He dominated that entire match until the very end when he got taken down.
Mm-hmm. And I was disappointed by that first exchange in the first period where they called them out of bounds. I thought his toe was still in as well. I thought we should have had 3 there. It really felt like he should have won that match. He was controlling the center the entire time. And that was probably the one match where I could point to it and be like, we were the clear aggressor in that match. Like Ryder Block was taking shots that entire match. And I'm a huge Ryder Block guy. I was super excited to finally see him get healthy, start wrestling, and look like the prodigy that he did coming out of high school. Like he looked absolutely fantastic in the national duels. And it would have been awesome to see him cap it off with that win against the guy that got 6th last year. But yeah, I mean, well, however you look at it, it was a good match. It just sucks to see it end that way.
Yeah, and the other one, if we're going back, Mo had the guy pinned. The guy's shoulders were on the mat for at least 4 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you don't call that. It was just, I don't know. So I'm gonna call out. I'm looking at the live chat. Someone says, "Question for you, Dubs. Who would you replace Brands with?" Now I've stated this question before, and I want to see if you agree with me. You go to Penn State, you find an assistant coach, you say, "What are you making?" Okay, we'll pay you more to come coach at Iowa, because Penn State has found something to really just separate themselves, not just from Iowa, from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to go to that program and find an assistant coach who's ready to take that next step up to the leagues, because he's coached under Kale. Kale's a good coach, as much as I don't care for him. So you get that pedigree from him. You bring him to Iowa and say, okay, you have 3 years, get your wrestlers set. And then if you're competing with Penn State, we'll talk about contract extensions. That's my opinion on that. I don't know what you think on that.
No, it's not a bad take at all. I mean, Penn State, obviously they've got a lot of great things going for them. I would say it's difficult. I mean, I'm not completely on the let's get rid of Brands train. I do think he still provides positive things, while I do think there are some major downsides, and our wrestling style is one of those major downsides. It's tough with the success that he still has had to just, throw that away because of, some things that have went wrong. But I do agree that if he were to be replaced, I think going to someone that coached at Penn State, or just going to a prestigious coach that has been with the program and seen success, and offering to pay them more than where they're at currently, I think is a good idea. I mean, even if you go to Oklahoma State, I mean, Oklahoma State's got a good wrestling style going through. And I know we beat Oklahoma State, but they're on the up and up. The last 3 years, they've gotten significantly better. So, I think that would be the first move you're going to replace him.
Yeah, and I know they got, what's the Oklahoma State coach? David Taylor?
Yep, David Taylor.
Yeah. And they got that one guy out of, he's from here. Is it Fort Dodge?
Yeah, Drayshawn Ross.
Yeah, he actually, so my alma mater, Xavier High School, he beat the Xavier High School kid for I think it's his 3rd or 2nd state title.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it sucks as an Iowa fan when you lose in-state recruiting to other schools. I mean, lose them to Iowa State, it's okay, fine, maybe it's proximity. but then you have Oklahoma State, even Penn State coming in and saying,
Mhm.
come to our school, and they go, okay. And it's like, you lose a kid from in-state. And that's, I mean, football, it's one thing, but wrestling, it's a totally different thing. It's like, you should be able to keep these kids
Yeah.
home.
Well, and that was a heartbreaker with Drayshawn Ross because honestly, it sucks too because I didn't even feel like we ever really had a chance of getting him, and that is so disappointing when he's obviously from your state. You got a kid from your state getting poached from different states. That's super frustrating, especially because he's a freak talent. Yeah, it's disappointing for sure.
And I guess maybe the last thing I'll say on this,
Yep.
it's really early in the season. I know Keeter is hurt. Do you think we would have wrestled the heavyweight? Now, like I said earlier, is that if Iowa had gotten those bonus points in the latter half, where it maybe have made it a more of a exciting duel,
Mhm.
do you think they would have wrestled somebody at heavyweight just to say, hey, we only need a major decision to win, go out
Yeah.
and see if you can do it, or
Yeah.
was it
So
like,
I mean, the situation is they wrestled Gage Marty in the first two duels, and Gage Marty, he's pretty solid. I mean, he's Keeter's direct backup. He wrestled the 25th ranked wrestler, and he lost to him by 2 in the first duel. So that's kind of around where he's at. Like he'd be a lower ranked guy. But Gage Marty in that second duel got hurt. So I figured we'd see Gage Marty all 4 duels. Second duel, he got hurt and medical forfeited, but it didn't seem like it was something that would keep him out the rest of the tournament. But I know
yeah,
both the last 2 duels were clinched by the time it went into the last match. They didn't even risk it by putting a guy who's already kind of beat up out there. But I think if it was within range, I think you very well could have seen Gage Marty going out there. But then again, I mean, if we needed a major or something like that, I mean, it was Nick Feldman, who's number 6 and an All-American. That would have been a very, very tough task to put on Gage Marty. But I think he would have been out there if we were still within range.
I think, yeah, I was curious because if that was the case, yeah, because it kind of came down to that Mo match. If Mo would have pinned the guy, Iowa wouldn't have needed a pin to win
Yeah.
at that point, but it would have been like, whew.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it was kind of even the match before. In Ohio State's a really good team. I think they were a little underrated this year because you look what they did to Nebraska. I mean, Nebraska got blown out by Oklahoma State too in the third place match. As well. So I
Yeah.
think, I don't know, maybe Nebraska's not as good as we thought, or maybe Ohio State's just a lot better than what we thought. Um, it's hard to tell. I mean, I think we get both Oklahoma State and Ohio State in February, but they're at their home. They're not coming to Carver, unfortunately, which would have been
Mhm.
nice. But that is what it is. And I think um with the time, when Keeter, when is he due back? I think, obviously he's got to get conditioned for wrestling as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump off here. I know the last time you guys did the first duel, I wasn't able to. I have to, I do work pretty early in the morning, so I have
Mhm.
to get going to bed. Um, just maybe if I could, there is one comment says, Alex, are you ready for a new coach
Yeah.
for wrestling? Um, I don't know. I want to see how this year goes, how Iowa finishes out this year. Because the last few years Iowa's finished fifth and then fourth in the national tournament. If
Mhm.
Iowa finishes worse than fifth, I think maybe that's a more serious conversation because I mean, if you think of Iowa wrestling, you think of Alabama, Ohio State, you know, maybe though just those 2 teams alone, Texas, in terms of, if you think football, those teams are like, hey, we want to win national titles. Being, the 6th best team in the country is not good enough for us. That's the way Iowa needs to look at wrestling. We have been one of the best wrestling programs in the nation for many, many years. And now we're starting to not stay at that number 2 spot where Penn State is just always that nudge ahead of us. They have created this chasm. And now other teams are starting to catch up and if even pass
Mhm.
Iowa. This Iowa State duel that's coming up, I know we wrestle Pittsburgh first, but this Iowa
Yeah.
State duel that's coming up has me extremely worried because this could be the first time that Iowa loses to Iowa State. I personally don't think they will. I think Iowa's just got the better roster, but we look at tonight, where and Kennedy's kind of the same way as I feel like Ayala, where he can be real hot and cold. We saw it in the national tournament last year where he was, I think, ranked the 6th seeded wrestler. He took 4th, so obviously wrestling above his seeding. So I want to see them. I want to see how they are at the end of the year before we maybe even have that conversation. Hey, if they finish out the year really well, maybe finish 3rd or 2nd, then it's like, okay, with the roster we had, with the injuries we had early in the year, okay, maybe it's not time to have that conversation, but maybe back burner it, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's definitely something we'll be discussing later in the year, depending on what we see happen.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Anyways,
it
have
was
a good
great
night.
meeting you.
I'm actually really excited that Keegan, you're able to do this and jump
Yeah,
on for
thank you.
wrestling. So, all right, have a good night, gentlemen.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Thank you for coming on. Yeah, anyone else wants to call in, go ahead. It's I like chatting with you guys. Great to hear what you have to say about the things that have happened and what we've seen. But real quick, I wanted to plug our sponsor, Big Grove Brewery. It's the official watch party headquarters of the Hawkeyes, and they're great. Go check them out. They're supporting the show, so that's awesome. And they got good drinks, good food. Yeah, Big Grove Brewery, check them out. Yeah. So I want to shift focus a little bit, and I want to go back and I want to talk about the Oklahoma State duel. Maybe a little bit more of a positive spin on things than just thinking about that last duel. And real quick, I wanted to say, T. Hank, we really appreciate comments like this. This wrestling thing is something we're trying to get the ball rolling on and bring to this channel and really dive into. So it's awesome to see that you guys are supporting, and we've received a lot of support. So that's awesome to see. So we really appreciate comments like these. But so shifting focus to Oklahoma State for a little bit and kind of talking about that. It was a great duel. For those of you that watched it, I really think that was a fantastic duel. Bottom to top, I thought that we wrestled really well, and we didn't have Keeter and won the duel, which is obviously very impressive in itself. And then you also look at the fact that we didn't use Jordan Williams and also won the duel. So without two top 10 wrestlers, one being an All-American, we still were able to win that duel by a score of 18-16, which I thought was obviously very impressive considering that Oklahoma State has really been on the up and up and has a fantastic roster. And they've been receiving some of the recruits that we were hoping to get it. And obviously we've been receiving great recruits too, but it's awesome to kind of stick it to them, to show them, we still are the big brother in that rivalry. But I want to talk about the matches in that. And, starting with the first match with Dean Peterson, obviously we're a little disappointed with how Dean Peterson's last match went, but strictly talking about that Oklahoma State duel and the match he had against Troy Spratley, that's going to take us to our Big Groves big play of the day. Dean Peterson's last second takedown to beat Troy Spratley. For those of you that watched that match, what a match. I mean, going down to the end, Spratley had him dead to rights. It seemed like the match was done. He had his leg. He was on the outside of the mat. Spratley was kind of in a scoring position. Time was running out. I kind of had thrown in the towel watching the match. I was like, I don't think this is happening. And Dean Peterson just kicked out of it. And he's got super fast hips. Dean Peterson is great. When he needs to get a score, he can go get a score. And we want to see that all the time from him. Obviously, he has some inconsistency issues, but it seems like when he's on the offense, he really is on the offense. And, you saw that last year at Nationals when he was still with Rutgers. He pinned Figueroa, who was a previous national champ. So, he's a great wrestler, and that was a great match. Beating a returning national finalist is obviously a big deal. But so then taking it into 133, again, this is why I wasn't super surprised by Drake Ayala's final match against Ben Davino, where he got beat pretty bad. This 133 match that Drake Ayala had against Oklahoma State against Ronnie Ramirez, Figueroa was out. I know he's dealing with some injury stuff. Drake Ayala took Ronnie Ramirez to overtime and beat him 7-4. Ronnie Ramirez is a redshirt freshman, and he was only a two-time state champ coming out of high school. A guy with not a lot of college experience whatsoever, a backup to Figueroa. We are a returning national finalist, and we beat him in overtime. Granted, this Ronnie Ramirez guy could be pretty fairly solid. He's young, and he is a pretty good prospect coming out of high school, but you got to expect that we're going to beat those guys a lot worse. And he's an Oklahoma State wrestler. He's tough. Like I said, all D1 wrestlers are tough, but that match to me, I felt worse about than his final match against Ben Davino, because I was like, this doesn't look like Drake Ayala at all. I don't know if the Lucas Bird loss had something to do with that, but heading into that final duel, I'm like, back-to-back pretty rough matches for Drake Ayala, and I don't expect it to get much better, and it didn't. A 10-4 loss is pretty tough to see. So going into 141 as well, you got Sergio Vega beating Nasir Bailey in overtime. Again, the concerns are there with Nasir Bailey. And that's something we have dove into a lot into this show. I mean, he looks out of shape. He looks like he's struggling to go up a weight class, and there are some major concerns there for a wrestler that's supposed to be top 10 and supposed to be competing to be on the podium this year. Big concerns there, but I'm hoping Nasir Bailey can get a lot better. And Sergio Vega's he's not a bad wrestler by any means. It's just that we expect Nasir Bailey to be a lot better than what I saw in that match. So now going in 149, we talked a lot about Ryder Block too. Ryder Block, I was going to give him wrestler of the tournament before that final match where he did lose close to Ethan Styles. I thought Masama and Dean was a little bit more of a candidate there, but Ryder Block taking out number 3 Casey Swiderski, an old Iowa State wrestler, 5-3. Ryder Block came into this year not even confirmed to have a starting spot, and he's beating top 10 wrestlers. And he looks fantastic while doing it. He's on the offense. He stays in good position. And it really looks like he's adjusting to this 149 weight class really well. And I just love seeing that guy wrestle like the kid he was in high school, where so many programs wanted him because he was such a fantastic wrestler coming out of high school. I mean, he beat Drake Ayala back in high school. Him and Drake Ayala split. Drake Ayala actually beat him in the finals, the state finals later that year. But Ryder Block and Drake Ayala went back and forth. So that kind of shows you the level that Ryder Block can be on. He was a 3-time state champ. His only reason he wasn't a 4-timer was because of Ryder Block. I mean, he's a fantastic wrestler, and it'd be awesome to see him keep going. And I like Kale Voinovich, but to me, it seems like Ryder Block should be holding down that weight class. I don't know if there's some health concerns that are the reason why that's not the case. It's just, Ryder Block, if he's healthy, if he's fully to go, I don't see any reason why he should not be wrestling every single match with what we've seen from him. Then at 157 in the Oklahoma State duel, we had Landon Robidoux beat Victor Voinovich 16-5. Again, we talked about this. Not exactly sure why Jordan Williams didn't wrestle those last 2 duels. There's a lot going into that. But yeah, we saw Victor Voinovich, and he's obviously not going to be able to compete with a guy who's ranked 5th. 165, this was a very frustrating match to watch. And just a very frustrating match to the result. It sucks. Ladarian Lockett of Oklahoma State beat our 2nd-ranked wrestler in Michael Caliendo. But the match itself, I want to kind of talk about this. Going into that final scramble, okay, it was going to go to overtime, right? And we know Michael Caliendo's in great shape. Ladarian Lockett looked like he was absolutely gassed. I mean, he could hardly walk back to the middle. We had him exactly where we wanted him. This is how Caliendo beats people, especially, great wrestlers like Ladarian Lockett. They went into that final scramble, and I know, for those of you that didn't watch, Ladarian Lockett kind of got deep in on a shot with 10 seconds left in the 3rd period. If he didn't finish, it was going to go to overtime. He brought it up in the air and kind of went to set him down, and Caliendo almost threw him over with a headlock, but Ladarian Lockett stepped over and hooked the leg, and they were kind of in a hip-to-hip position, but the ref called it 3 on the mat, and then they go back and they review it at the table. The refs review it as an official review themselves. They come back out and they say, no takedown. We're going to overtime. Oklahoma State throws in the brick. Then they take it up to the booth to have a deeper review. And then after the deeper review, they decide it is a takedown. So they went from takedown to no takedown to takedown. I would have loved to just see that match go to overtime. It didn't feel like we really lost that match. And I don't feel like that was a takedown at the end of the day for those of you, like I said, that saw it. So tough pill to swallow there with a loss to Ladarian Lockett. But Ladarian Lockett's also a guy who I foresee being a multi-time All-American, and he's a great wrestler. And I think we can definitely avenge that loss down the line. Then going into 174, I thought Kennedy took care of business. Obviously, their consistency issues are still there for Kennedy. I mean, Alex Facendo's pretty good, a transfer from Penn State, but you would have expected to see Patrick Kennedy probably win that one by a bit more. But I mean, he did take care of him, beat him in overtime, and it looked like he was kind of in position to win most of that match. I mean, this is just kind of how Patrick Kennedy wrestles. He's going to wrestle those close matches, and I thought he looked good enough, Angelo Ferrari, I want to talk about him. He wrestled Zach Ryder, who's another transfer from Penn State, who's ranked 4. So this was number 2 versus number 4. Ferrari just knows how to step up in these big matches, and he might win it close, and he might scare you at times and look like he's going to lose, but he is just so solid and just stays in such good position the entire time. I mean, his scores top to bottom throughout this whole entire national duels. I mean, he beat Aiden Sinclair in overtime 3-2. He beat Chris Moore 7-3. He beat Zach Ryder 4-2. And then in his final match against Dylan Fishback, who's number 7, he beat him in overtime 4-1. So Ferrari, maybe he's going to be another one that wrestles close matches, but we can count on him to win because he stays in such good position and really is the aggressor in every match he's in. And something that is super exciting to highlight about him is Max McNeely actually lost to Aiden Sinclair, who Ferrari beat in the first duel, which for those of you that saw Ferrari and Aiden Sinclair's match, it was an absolute instant classic. I mean, just top tier scrambles, such good wrestling. It was a very exciting match to watch. It was awesome that Ferrari took care of it, but Sinclair just went on after that and beat the number one ranked wrestler. So Ferrari has every right now to be number one after this week, and I think we very well could see him at number one. The debate is with Rocco Welsh. I mean, Rocco Welsh is fantastic, but either way, we're going to be number one or number two, and I look for Ferrari to compete for a national title this year. That's a fantastic wrestler. So 197, we talked at length already about Masoma and Dean and everything he's done, but I thought that Oklahoma State match was the pinnacle of what he can do. That was the time where he was down. He had a true chance of losing that match, and we were counting on him to come from behind. It hasn't been that way in all his matches. He has looked great from start to finish in every single match that he's in, except for that one he was losing. It came down to the end, and he was setting up those fakes for the double the entire time, and then just blasted through in that third period, took care of it, won 4-3. And that one was a super exciting one. And then heavyweight, we obviously forfeited. And it really sucks with Keeter. I mean, obviously we've already talked about it a lot with his labrum and the reason he didn't wrestle, but he missed out on so many good matches in this tournament. I mean, he would have had number 8, number 9, and number 6. Those are matches that are going to help you so much when nationals comes around. It would have been awesome to see him get those matches, and I'm really disappointed that he didn't, but obviously he wasn't healthy enough to go, and you don't want to risk a guy, making an injury even worse this early in the year. So it probably was a smart decision at the end of the day, but it sucks to see him not get those matches that you really wish he would have. Aaron's saying Dean Peterson looked very good this weekend. I agree. I think, besides that last match where he got caught, I did think that Peterson looked pretty solid, and he looked a lot more like the guy that we can expect going forward, just taking care of business, being on the offense. And actually in that first duel, we got to see Leo DeLuca wrestle, who's, one of our very talented recruits coming out of New Jersey. It was exciting to see him get to make his debut against number 28, who he beat 2-0. But I thought Dean Peterson held it down pretty well. Looked pretty great. And I expect to see that from him in the future. So, yeah, I mean, he's a solid wrestler. And if you've watched Dean Peterson in the past, he has inconsistency issues, but you also know at the end of the day, when nationals comes around, he is going to be competing for a national title, let alone a placement finish. So, again, I just want to shout out our wrestler of the tournament in Masoma and Dean. I thought he looked great, and I'd be very interested to see what you guys think about him and what he really could do. Because at this point, I don't know what he's going to be ranked after this week. He could be top 10 easily. I mean, at this point, I'm expecting him to place with the way that he's been wrestling and the way that he's looked. I really expect him to go pretty far. And it's awesome. Just, we didn't land Ferrari, but in the end of the day, we talked about that in the Bellarmine post game. That might have been, dodging a bullet with a guy that has some clear character issues, but we got a great wrestler instead in Masoma and Dean. So it's really nice to have him. I mean, and I want to say this about Dean. A lot of people are saying there's just no way he can compete for a title because he's a D3 wrestler, no matter how good he was at D3. I mean, there was an open tournament a couple weeks ago where some Iowa State backups were beating some of the top ranked wrestlers in D3. Yes, D3 is a drop off, but Masoma and Dean is not just a wrestler who's been good at the D3 level. He's also succeeded at the world level. He's a Pan Am champion. So he's not just any D3 wrestler. He's a very good and solid D1 wrestler as well. And I want to make that clear because I've seen a lot of people saying that might not be the case, but I feel like he is. And I feel like this is a guy that I expect to be top 5 at the end of the year, but you never know with how things can shake out, but you can only hope, right? So, I mean, yeah, curious to see more thoughts from you guys on how it went, but getting second at national duels is no small feat. At the end of the day, the Ohio State loss, yes, it's upsetting. It sucks, but we were banged up. We didn't wrestle to the best of our ability. Ohio State obviously has a great roster this year. They look athletic. They look like they were on the offense. There was some reffing questionable things that happened. I know I saw some comments earlier that were pointing at the reffing and saying that was a major problem. But, like he said here, that Buckeyes definitely had the ref on their side tonight. Pretty pathetic. I thought there was some times where some calls definitely didn't go our way, but I also reiterated that I don't think we lost the duel because of that. But either way that you look at it, we beat number 16 Missouri. We beat number 15 Illinois, beat them both handily. We didn't just beat them. We were able to kind of stomp on them and move past them even without having Keeter. I mean, we beat Missouri 34-3. We would have shut them out if we had Keeter, and that's a top 16 team in the nation. Beat number 5 Oklahoma State. That's a duel that a lot of people said we were going to lose. So it's nice to see. And yes, I was hoping the same thing that I'm sure everyone else was hoping, that we would be walking away with a national dual title after this tournament, but I'm also not disappointed. And it's a long, long season. We're going to be sticking around talking about this until March. So we're just getting started, just getting the ball rolling. And I think we got a long way to go. So like I said, appreciate you guys being in here with me on a Sunday night. It's pretty exciting to just get to chat wrestling with so many other people that know what they're talking about on a platform like this. And, you know, shout out to Corey for hooking me up with that. And yeah, I just really appreciate all you guys being here. And it was really fun to watch. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys got to tune in. I know a lot of it was through Flow Wrestling, which can be tough for some people to access because of the subscription per year. But I do have Flow Wrestling, so I was able to watch all of it. I hope you guys were able to watch as much of it as you could. It really was fun. And it was just a great 4 duels. No matter how you look at it, we got so much better. I mean, look at some of the other matches that we got to see. We got to see a rematch of the national finals at 125 and 133. We got to see Nick Feldman take out AJ Ferrari. We got to see Max McNeely fall to Aiden Sinclair. There were so many good matches, and National Duels is seriously such a great event, and it's such a good way for wrestlers to get better at the beginning of the year. So yes, we lost the duel. Yes, some of our wrestlers got upset and didn't do the best that they could, but I know all in all, this team got a lot better. This team learned a lot, and I think going forward, this is going to help this team tremendously. And we got a big duel coming up with Iowa State. Obviously, we're focused on Pittsburgh first, and we're going to take them on, but Iowa State's going to be a huge one. And we need to win that. I mean, that's the rivalry. They've been trying to catch us for years. Need to put our foot down and get that one. And right now, I mean, the hope is that Keeter's going to be healthy for that. Because if he's not, we're probably giving up 4 to 6 points there with them having Younger Bastida. So really need Keeter to be healthy for that one. It's going to be a huge swing if he isn't. And maybe that was a part of Brand's thinking with not having him wrestle here is let's get that labrum healthy. Let's get him ready to roll. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be big. I'm not saying that Keeter can beat Younger Bastida. I think that's going to be a very good match, but I obviously we need him. I mean, we need him bad. George Marty's great, but he's not going to be able to beat Younger Bastida. If we don't have Ben Keeter fully healthy by the time the Iowa State duel comes around, it's going to be very tough to beat them if they're fully healthy. That's the bottom line. And we need Ayala wrestling as good as he can. He's got Frost. That's been a close match in the past. We need all of these guys at their A game. This Iowa State duel is no joke this year. And it's probably the closest it's projected to be in a really long time. And it's been close in the past. So look for that to definitely be something that, that we're looking forward to. And the next big thing that we're focusing on, because like I said, this was obviously huge, but we got a lot more to go. And, we're going to get to versus Oklahoma State again. We're going to get to versus Ohio State again. And those are going to be really fun duels to watch for a second time. So nothing hurt. Nothing super bad here. And, real quick, I want to plug to go shop at RTI Threads. They got a lot of Iowa people in there supporting them through NIL, and they got their merch. Go check it out. Seriously, it's a really cool site. They got a lot of great things. I'm going to see if I can screen share that for you guys really quick. Seriously, go check it out. Go get some Iowa athletes, go get their merch. Like here you see with Aaron Graves. I mean, they got a lot of cool stuff. So they support the show. Go support them. Go check them out for us. That's RTI Threads, supporter from the Hawkeye, the Storm. So thank you guys for all the support with the wrestling. I want to say that again too, real quick. It's been really fun getting to do this, and it's been such a great opportunity. And yeah, I just appreciate all you guys sticking in, all the nice things that you got to say. People coming on here and chatting with me, talking wrestling. That's all we want. So I think we got about 300 people in here that all support Hawkeye wrestling, and that's super exciting. And yeah, we got a lot of good stuff coming forward. Looking forward to Pittsburgh, looking forward to Iowa State, looking forward to everything that's going to happen after that. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I got for you guys. I know it's a pretty quick hour, but I want to say one more time that the big Groves play of the day was Dean Peterson's last second takedown. I talked about that a little bit already, but That was a very great match from Dean Peterson, and I don't want people to get too worried about him. I know we talked about how he got caught in that last match, but he's a great wrestler. And top to bottom, this is an awesome lineup. We just need to get healthy. Bottom line, we need Jordan Williams all in. I don't know if it's health. I don't know if it's mindset. I don't know if Brands was just disappointed with that one match that he had against Brandon Cannon. I mean, he got beat pretty bad there, and certainly did not look like himself. I know he gave up a takedown at the end where he kind of just bailed. I could definitely see Brands being disappointed about that. But then again, I don't want to speculate. And then obviously Ben Keeter's not healthy, so got to get this team fully healthy. And we talked at great length in after the Bellarmine duel. Depth is such an important thing in this sport. It's part of the reason that we've been able to handle Iowa State so many years in a row, is because a lot of times they just don't have the same depth that Iowa has. They don't have the ability to bump wrestlers around like we do, and that costs them. And I think today that partially cost us not having that depth against some of these schools that are healthy. I mean, we saw Ohio State's best lineup. They had their best lineup out there for us. We did not have our best lineup out there for them. And obviously on top of that, they out-wrestled us, and that's why the duel went the way it did. But again, we're just getting better. And but we need that depth. Definitely need that depth, and we need to get guys healthy. And I can only hope that we're going to see Jordan Williams and Ben Keeter against Pittsburgh. But if that isn't the case, we at least should get them against Iowa State, I would really hope. And Dennis says 49 and 97 were a nice surprise. 97 is a bit sloppy, but he'll tighten things up in 4 months for nationals. Totally agree. I mean, Masoma and Dean, I feel like that's also a part of his wrestling style. He is a bit sloppy, but it's also it's weird because he's sloppy, but also stays in good position and is able to edge out these matches. And I think that's really impressive, especially when he can kind of put himself in bad positions, but still come out and wrestle well and win these matches. It's really impressive. And then 49, I don't even want to call it a surprise, because like I said, I've had a huge belief in Ryder Block and what he can do. Was I surprised that he beat number 6 and number 3? Yeah, I was a little surprised to see that. But to me, Ryder Block is a guy that should be competing to place at the end of the year. This is what a lot of people said. They said, we got a lineup full of people that can place, and our biggest concern is 149. It doesn't feel like we can place at that weight. Ryder Block showed us that we can. Ryder Block showed us that there is still potential for this team to have 10 All-Americans. And I'm not saying that's going to be the case. Obviously, 10 All-Americans is really, really hard to do. Penn State did it, but, we see where Penn State's at. And I'm not saying, something will probably go wrong and we probably won't do that. But the fact that we have 10 wrestlers that are in contention to place is a very awesome thing. And that shouldn't go overlooked. I know a lot of people got a lot of things to say about Brands. A lot of people think we're trending in the wrong direction, but we just picked up some huge recruits and we got a great, solid roster at the end of the day. And, I don't want that to be forgotten and thrown under the rug. But all in all, just want to recap. Iowa wrestled Missouri in the first round, and they beat them 34-3. They wrestled Illinois in the second round and beat them 24-13. They wrestled number 5 Oklahoma State in the semifinals, beat them 18-16, and they fell to number 4 Ohio State 27-12 in the finals. And that is how national duels went. We took second at national duels. We're moving on to Pittsburgh. It's going to be a lot better. I can feel it. And I know we've got a great team. And I know Brand's going to get this team in the right place. And I know a lot of people want him gone, but I'm still sticking beside him for now. I think our wrestling style is an issue, but I also think that's something that can greatly improve down the line, because we really do have wrestlers that, I mean, Nasir Bailey and Jordan Williams, if you watched them when they weren't at Iowa, and if you watch Patrick Kennedy, watch Michael Caliendo, watch Drake Ayala on the average match, watch Dean Peterson. I mean, these guys are not wrestlers that aren't offensive. It's just some inconsistencies that we got to get figured out. Got a great team, and we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out for sure. So thank you guys for hopping in here with me. It's been awesome. And I appreciate all the support with wrestling and all the support just for the channel. It's truly awesome. And you can always feel free to reach out to me at my Twitter. I'll actually get that username pulled up for you real quick. I'm always open to messages or anything. If anyone ever wants to talk wrestling or go follow, I'm probably going to try to start posting on there more, but that Twitter is KJensen_1 at KJensen_1. So go check me out. I repost a lot of Corey's stuff, and I'm always down to chat wrestling if anybody wants to talk to me about it. But until then, thank you guys for joining in, and I'm sure I'll be talking to you after Pittsburgh, and I'll be certainly talking to you after Iowa State. I'm actually planning on going to that Iowa State duel and witnessing it in person, and we got big things to look forward to. So thank you guys. It's been an awesome night. Thank you for hanging in there with me.